Everyone knows Patrick Star isn't exactly the brightest bioluminescent jellyfish in the sea. Hey, in his defense, he does literally live under a rock, but that doesn't mean he doesn't occasionally have flashes of wisdom, whether they're intentional or not. In addition to being well-versed in the ways of wumbo, or wumboology as the pros call it, Patrick can be a pretty smart guy. So let's look back on some of his best moments. Rocking out. Everyone knows that pets are a lot of responsibility, and that's even true if you live in some sort of fruit at the bottom of the ocean. Patrick knows this, of course, so while his pal SpongeBob Squarepants and surly neighbor Squidward take on the burden of pets, Patrick is smart enough to stay out of it. In the episode The Great Snail Race, SpongeBob's trusty snail Gary becomes enamored with a snail named Snelly, who Squidward gets as a pet. As usual, Squidward is up on his high seahorse and claims that Snelly has a superior lineage to Gary. While SpongeBob and Squidward quarrel over their competing snails, Patrick is clever enough to select a low-maintenance pet, or really, a no-maintenance pet. Yes, Patrick does get a pet rock, but it turns out to be a solid decision. Despite their training and the fact that they're living creatures, the snails lose, and Patrick's rock emerges victorious. But not only is Patrick a winner, but he's a gracious one as well. He gives Squidward the trophy he knew he wanted so badly. Sure, he got his last name wrong and called him Squidward Tortellini, but hey, nobody's perfect. Priorities. The episode Patrick Smartpants answered the question of what would Patrick be like if he was smart, and the answer to that is insufferable. Patrick falls off a cliff and loses his head, quite literally as a result. SpongeBob screws his head back on, but there's just one issue. Patrick is suddenly smart. This shouldn't be a problem, but apparently his social skills don't scale up along with his intelligence. He finds it impossible to relate to his peers, even upsetting more intelligent characters like Sandy in the process. Patrick is no longer amused by bubbles, catching jellyfish, or belching, and instead prefers more intellectual pursuits. Sure, Patrick is smart, but he soon realizes being smart doesn't make people happy. He feels isolated and removed from the more simple joys he used to feel in life. At the end, it turns out Patrick's head was tainted with brain coral, which accounts for his increased intelligence. Although he's objectively less intelligent once the brain coral is removed, we have to say putting your own happiness first seems like a pretty smart move to us. There are worse things in life than being stupid, and don't you think figuring that out is rather clever? Magic mustache. There are some people out there who are intent on changing the world, and that's certainly a noble goal. But being able to recognize the limits of your ability and think about how much responsibility you can reasonably assume requires a certain kind of intelligence. Patrick Star is someone who knows that with great power comes great responsibility, and frankly, he isn't interested. In the episode Frankendoodle, SpongeBob and Patrick find a pencil which causes everything they draw to come to life. It's an insanely powerful implement. And what does Patrick wish for? A magic mustache, of course. Now, at first, this might seem like a dumb move, but it's really the perfect thing. SpongeBob tries to create a version of himself, and Doodlebob runs amok, causing a whole heap of trouble. Patrick, on the other hand, looks sick with a cool magic mustache. Sure, it flies away, but it was awesome while it lasted, and at least it didn't terrorize Bikini Bottom like Doodlebob. His mustache may have taken flight, but Patrick knows not to let himself fly too close to the sun, lest he end up burned. Sometimes, the simplest answer is the best one. Supportive. SpongeBob Squarepants definitely has his shortcomings, but he does occasionally have some pretty brilliant ideas. The only problem is that few people take him seriously because, well, maybe it has something to do with the Squarepants. In the episode Patty Hype, the iconic Krusty Krab restaurant isn't doing so well. In fact, that's kind of an understatement. SpongeBob decides to help out by creating an update to the classic Krabby Patty known as the Pretty Patty. It's just like a Krabby Patty, but prettier. Mr. Krabs and Squidward laugh at the idea, but Patrick is actually supportive of his friend and recognizes the potential of Pretty Patties. Two of the smarter residents of Bikini Bottom didn't see that Pretty Patties were clearly a good business idea, since they sold like crazy. Okay, so they had the unfortunate side effect of turning people different colors, but that doesn't mean pretty patties were a bad idea. They just needed a little bit of market research. Plus, people probably couldn't wait to go back to eating regular Krabby Patties after this. It's like when they reformulated Coca-Cola and made the terrible new Coke, so people couldn't wait to go back to drinking the old stuff. Vacation. Us humans often head to the beach in order to relax and unwind. But where are you supposed to go when you already live at the beach? While the other citizens of Bikini Bottom may be wondering where to spend their vacations, Patrick isn't afraid to try out new things in the episode Krusty Towers. Mr. Krabs decides his latest money-making venture will be to transform the Krusty Krab into a hotel, with one distinguishing feature: the staff will do anything you want. While it seems like nobody else wants to give the hotel a try, Patrick knows a good thing when he sees it, and since he ordered a room full of cheese, you know he has impeccable taste. Cheese really does make everything better. Hey, side note, are there any real hotels where you can order a room full of cheese? Because if so, please let us know. Patrick has Squidward carry his bags full of rocks up to his room and even give him a bubble bath. You just don't get that kind of service at a Holiday Inn. Trust us on that one. Most people think Patrick isn't bright enough to take advantage of the situation, but clearly he is. Wishes. True intelligence means more than simply being able to rattle off facts or make split-second decisions. It's sometimes smarter to wait and consider all possible options and the ramifications of them instead of acting rashly. This is a skill few people have managed to cultivate, yet we saw Patrick display it during the episode Chocolate with Nuts. Patrick wants a luxury lifestyle like the one he saw in Squidward's Fancy Living Digest magazine, but he knows he's going to have to work for it. During the market research phase of entrepreneurship, SpongeBob asks Patrick what he would want if he could have anything in the world. While anyone with any business sense knows careful thought and reflection needs to go into a proposal, so Patrick shows wisdom by saying that if he could have anything in the world, he would want more time for thinking. Phil Collins once sang that you can't hurry love, but Patrick knows you can't hurry sheer brilliance either. And what do you know? It's actually Patrick who comes up with the idea to sell bars of chocolate, a plan that ends up making them a ton of money. Sure, there are some bumps along the way, but Patrick's idea actually managed to work out this time. Sandy. The next time you feel out of place, just consider the fact that Sandy was able to adjust from being a squirrel in the great state of Texas to being a squirrel living under the sea. But in the episode Texas, our favorite aquatic squirrel is feeling like, well, not a fish out of water, but a squirrel out of Texas. She's terribly homesick and seriously considering leaving Bikini Bottom for good in order to return to the States and presumably dry land. SpongeBob is helpless when it comes to figuring out how to comfort Sandy and convince her to remain under the sea. He has a plan to throw Sandy a Texas-sized party at the Krusty Krab, but she refuses to follow him there. That's when Patrick decides that if kindness isn't enough to motivate Sandy, maybe a blow to her pride will spur things along. So he starts insulting Texas, which results in Sandy giving chase and eventually ending up at the Krusty Krab. It's a great idea that worked by getting Sandy to the party, which convinced her to stay in Bikini Bottom. True, Patrick didn't quit while he was ahead and couldn't quite stop insulting Texas, but hey, at least the plan worked, thanks to him. Jellyfish. Most of the time, it's safe to say Patrick makes SpongeBob look smart by comparison, but let's not forget that our favorite sea sponge isn't exactly the most brilliant creature in the ocean. In fact, sometimes he's done such ridiculous things that even Patrick has to step in to tell him it's a bad idea, like in the episode Nature Pants. SpongeBob Squarepants decides to be SpongeBob Nature Pants and go live in the wild with a bunch of jellyfish. You know, the creatures that he can't communicate with that sting him when he gets too close. Yeah, definitely a good plan. Patrick does his best to stop his friend from giving away his possessions and making a massive mistake. He even does his best to help SpongeBob realize his mistake by luring him back to civilization. Sure, he goes a little bit too far, but what can we say? Patrick is a passionate guy who cares deeply about his friends. If your BFF left his job and worldly possessions to live outside, you might just take dramatic action too. Imagination. You might think that living underneath a rock sounds pretty terrible, but there's nothing wrong with seeking out a more minimalist existence. We think Marie Kondo would be proud of Patrick's decor. In the episode Idiot Box, Patrick discovered something that sparked joy even though it might not look impressive on the outside. Patrick and SpongeBob obtain a giant cardboard box to play in and who off their imaginations. Although Squidward mocks them at first, he soon realizes SpongeBob and Patrick are having way more fun than he is using nothing more than a cardboard box. Squidward soon becomes obsessed with the idea that SpongeBob and Patrick are messing with him and using some kind of device in order to produce the sounds he keeps hearing from the box. Instead of simply enjoying the very nice TV which came in the box, Squidward keeps trying to investigate Patrick and SpongeBob and discover the secret of their mirth. His investigation takes quite a turn though, when he ends up in the box as it's collected by a garbage man and then dumped in a landfill. It turns out there was no secret beyond the fact that SpongeBob and Patrick both have excellent imaginations and know how to find joy in the simple pleasures in life. Sounds pretty smart to us. Secret box. Having a long-lasting friendship can be a pretty beautiful thing, but it also means your pal will know about most of your embarrassing moments. Patrick showed off the fact that he learned a few things from watching SpongeBob over the years in the episode The Secret Box. After all, what's the point of having a friend if you can't annoy them from time to time? In this episode, Patrick casually mentions a secret box that SpongeBob is not allowed to look in. Okay, so that would definitely drive anyone crazy. Patrick even stays strong when SpongeBob tries to distract him so he can get a peek into the secret contents of his mysterious box. Perhaps even smarter than having his secret box in the first place is Patrick's ability to set boundaries by telling SpongeBob his insistence on invading Patrick's privacy is damaging their friendship. Way to advocate for yourself, Patrick. Of course, SpongeBob just can't let it go and tries various schemes in order to get a peek inside the mysterious container. In the end, it turns out Patrick was hiding an embarrassing photo of SpongeBob, but was smart enough not to leave it sitting in the box. He'd rigged up a secret compartment to hide the true secret of the secret box. We've listed a few of our favorites, but we know there are more great Patrick moments out there. Tell us which surprising Patrick moment is your favorite in the comments section, and then click on the subscribe button for more videos from us here at CBR. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.